why should I tell stories? Well, because a lot of my friends don't really want to read the books. And, there has to be another medium, I felt, to document our history. Or just document stories in general. I've always said the saddest thing is when people have lived a phenomenal life and there's not a story to be shown or even told. And a lot of times, especially in unfortunately, Black communities, these stories will go, I guess, unheard of.
We have Shawn Antoine, former University of Rhode Island graduate, now writer, producer, photographer, director, and owner of his own media platform called Perplexion. He also directed a short film back in 2020 called Showtime that shed light on the New York dance scene, which actually got into 52 film festivals and won 5 of them. This is a guy who I call the Renaissance man. He's done a lot. He's been involved in a lot at such a young age. This is somebody I played football with. I was a young pup. He was an older guy. And this is someone that was working on movies while he was playing football at University of Rhode Island. Just a phenomenal guy, someone we could all learn from. And I hope today you guys are able to see why he is someone who is thinking gold and someone that we want to look up to and ultimately learn from. So I'm extremely excited today because me and Shawn haven't talked and, haven't been able to communicate as much as we wanted to. And now is an opportunity to do just that. So Shawn, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on today, brother.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been some time, but I'm very proud of everything you've been doing with Think Gold, and I'm just excited to be a guest today.
Yes, sir. So we've been trying to nail down a time with Shawn, and we've been all over the place. So at first we were going to do a Sunday morning. That's my ideal time, and we just weren't able to connect on Sunday morning. So now it's Monday, 10:21 p.m. And Shawn had to push it back because he was working on set today. Shawn, you said you were working 15 hours?
Yeah, about that. Today was first day out the week, so I probably worked like 13, 14 hours. But find time to do important stuff. So I'm just glad to be here and make time with you to just shed some light, and hopefully whatever we discuss could be of assistance for people.
Amen. What I say this show is gonna be on. It's gonna be on the late night show.
Late night. This is your late night show edition.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I just want to go straight into it, man. So Showtime, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but you were working on that film as a senior in college, right?
Yeah, so I actually was writing Showtime back in my junior summer while I was in LA. Right before training camp, I went out to LA for a couple of months. I interned out there. And then, I actually kept developing Showtime until it was time to film. And I did that during our spring break. I believe, that was my senior year, spring break. We shot the film over 3 days. So, it was right in the middle of football and school. So
I remember I always talk about this story when I was a freshman in college. And it might have been a freshman or sophomore year, but I was always one who was really at that time, all I had was football. And I was putting so much pressure on myself. And I remember having a conversation with you, and you were just like, yeah, man, I mean, life is bigger than football. Like, we were on the field having this conversation, but you had said something like, life is bigger than football, man. This stuff is really just, it is what it is, talking about football. And I was like, man, hold up. So not everybody has the same mentality as me about, making football their everything and trying to go to the league. When did that mindset come in that you were more than just an athlete?
well, it's good that you mentioned that we had conversations like that, even on the field. And it wasn't like to discourage anybody in their pursuits to hopefully go pro or to get everything out of, the college football opportunity. But for me, it happened my freshman year. I was playing a lot. I started a couple games. I got injured. And, when you're injured in college football, you really get to see, at least my perspective, and I was fortunate enough to see, was that college football is a business. And, in every business, you're an asset or a liability. And there's nothing wrong with that. Once you become injured, you then transition into being somewhat of a liability to business, which is college football.
How did
And
you know? I didn't mean to cut you off, but how do you know when you're an asset or a liability? Like how one is it just the aura you get from the coaches, or how do you know when that's happening to you?
well, in football, especially when you're on scholarship, technically you're already a liability until you prove and you've shown your value that they can use you.
Hmm.
Um, I would consider an asset, especially as we talk about like football players, someone who can add to the program. But when you're injured, you're actually taking resources from the program, whether that's training, them having to price out surgeries. So then I kind of took it as, all right, you're a liability at this moment. It's not much you can bring to the table, and for lack of words, the program at that time. So just alluding to what I was speaking on before, once I got injured, it was like, all right, what can I provide for, the program? And that was kind of my focus initially.
Hmm.
And I had to realize, well, the program really isn't too worried about me besides hopefully getting me healthy. But I do have the opportunity to be on full scholarship at a 4-year university.
Hmm.
That's where sort of my mentality transferred. I was like, all right, cool. If this is a business, I got to be the best businessman possible. How can I get everything out of this opportunity? Not even just from a monetary standpoint, but more so from all the things that the university offers. So
Hmm.
that's kind of where my mentality shifted. I still went hard in football, but more than just it just being football, I had to make sure I needed to elevate everything in my life at that point, especially while I was fortunate enough to be on scholarship. So that's probably where that conversation between me and you came from. It was like, look, dude, football is amazing, but you can do more.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like, not only to you, but I spoke to some of the younger guys because I've seen dudes before me get injured. Same thing. And I didn't realize it till it happened to me. Like, oh, shoot, this football thing is tougher than I thought. And, especially when you get injured, you realize, all right, I got to persevere and overcome so much more. And I just tried to, as often as I could, speak to some of the younger dudes on the team and tell them, like, man, take advantage of this opportunity. And fortunately enough, it broke through for some of you. So I felt like I at least played somewhat of a role in at least enlightening you guys and just trying to get you guys to think about other things while trying to um, achieve at such a high level on the football field.
Hmm. So that leads me to my next question, right? And this goes back to, us being athletes, us playing sports, us being involved in it at such a young age. Many people that look like us, black and brown kids, right? We feel like the only way to be successful is to play sports, right? Play football, play basketball, or get into music, get into rapping, right? But you, like I said, the Renaissance man, like you got involved in film and production, right?
Yeah.
Not even from like content creation, but you were in there with a big ass camera. You're working on scripts, like you're actually doing the thing, right? Like, why did film catch your attention, right? And why go down that path?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, just film in general, it had a system very similar to football,
Hmm.
which really attracted me to it. Football has play calls, right? Similar to a film having a script. You got a
Hmm.
game plan similar to script. That's kind of how, just a basis parallel. And then even the team and how it functions. All right, you got a director who's probably similar to a head coach or a quarterback. Then you got everybody else that's supporting the quarterback, hopefully in the goal of like winning and having like, in this case, a film. So
Hmm.
like these kind of parallels kind of really attracted me to film. And then I also was really attracted to the fact that I could actually create something that wasn't just, 30 seconds on Instagram or on YouTube for like people to see in passing, but hopefully something that could last and pass through generations.
Hmm.
And that's what really attracted me to film. I thought storytelling was just so important. When I was coming up through my whole high school recruiting process, I had to market myself. I had to really tell my story to hopefully attract college coaches. And similar to film, it was like, all right, how do I convey these stories to other people and kind of find a common ground? So that's what really attracted me to production initially. And then from there, I just fell in love with it. It was like, wow, I'm learning and constantly in a place of like, all right, I want to get better at it. And I just
Mm,
kept working at the craft, and I became addicted to it. I became obsessed to just perfecting it. And I grew up watching movies. As a kid, my dad used to record the football games of my youth team, and I would start editing it and everything. So that's really how, I just got, I guess, infatuated and fell in love with film.
mm. Yeah, going back to that point of, being, an African American, being a Black individual, and, going the film route rather than playing ball, getting into music. With that being said, you said, it's important to tell my story. Do
Yeah.
you feel kind of added weight to tell your story and to tell people in your community story, being that, we weren't able to tell our story for so long? Do you feel like that's part of the creative process and what you're trying to show to people in the world?
Yeah, for me, storytelling is just, it's always been something very important to me. Um, my grandfather was a college professor, well, is a college professor up in Toronto, but he's always telling me tons of stories about history, and he's always giving me books, right?
Mm,
And I kind of I've never been much of like, all right, I want to read a bunch. I've developed that trait, but I've always been somebody that's, I'm much more receptive to visual messages and
mm,
visual stories. So yeah, that's really how, if that's answering your question, kind of like that's kind of like the way I wanted to transition into, all right,
yeah.
why should I tell stories? Well, because a lot of my friends don't really want to read the books.
Mm,
And, there has to be another medium, I felt, to document our history. Or just document stories in general. I've always said the saddest thing is when people have lived a phenomenal life and there's not a story to be shown or even told.
mm,
And a lot of times, especially in like, unfortunately, like Black communities, these stories will go, I guess, unheard of, to outside people. And film at least gives you that opportunity, especially documentary films, to kind of capture people in those moments and allow these moments to be replayed for however long.
mm. No, I feel like that's saying, what's the saying where it's like, there's my story, there's his story, then there's the story of actually how it happened, right? And there's so many different perspectives of how things went down, right? And I think
Yeah,
it's important to, one, control that narrative, right? Because people who are watching these films, we think from watching these films that that's the truth, right?
yeah,
And so I always think that's just, I don't really know about the creative process, when it comes to filmmakers, but I feel like there's a lot of weight that they have to portray something in a truthful light, right? And so I think that's awesome. When you talk about guys like what Nate Parker, right, Birth of a Nation, right,
yeah.
and what he did with that film. But speaking of Nate Parker, you actually got a chance to work with him on the Showtime film, right?
Yeah, Nate, he's actually one of my mentors, my big bro. We actually got to work on Showtime. He hopped on as an executive producer. And yeah, Nate has always just been a person that really guided me in film. When I first started back in 2015, uh, transitioning into 2016, he actually invited me to his summer film program. So once again, right before football training camp for a week, I went out to where was it, Marshall, Texas.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, Nate
What the
was
heck's in Marshall, Texas? I've never heard of Marshall,
it's actually
Texas.
it's actually a lot of history out there.
Uh,
So you got Wiley College. So I don't know if you ever seen the film Great Debaters.
I have
Um,
not. Nope.
Zell and who else is in it? Forrest Whitaker. And,
Okay.
um, Nate actually was in that film as well. So what he did was after he won Sundance in 2016, he actually decided to fund and start his own summer film like intensive for 30 Black and brown kids throughout the country. So he
Wow.
flew us all out, and he's been doing it for the last 8 years. And what he does during that week is he partners all of us with different professionals in each field. So whether you're a director, a writer, a producer, he pairs us all up, and he just allows us to learn for a week, and then we ultimately at the end of the week create a film.
Hmm. So creating that film, right? Showtime, short film. You can watch that on Shawn Antoine the second.com, right?
Yep, you can watch it there if you just Google Showtime by Shawn Antoine II. It should pop up as well. But yeah, that's how I met Nate though. He's a great dude, and then from there he just really guided me and helped make sure that I was along the right path as a young black filmmaker, for lack of words, and very thankful for that. There's not a lot of black men that are actually willing to reach out in the film industry and just help.
Hmm.
And he's definitely been a person that I can say has been just so important to my success.
Hmm. Yeah, one thing I'm realizing is the impact of mentors, right? For the longest time, I felt like I could do it all by myself, right? And Ed Lee, and have you ever met Ed Lee's mom?
I haven't.
She is a vice president of one of the biggest furniture companies in DC or in the area, right? But she's super connected, right? And me being my stubborn self, I never wanted to take advice from her. But the moment I took advice from her and I started listening to her and what she was saying to me, I mean, I could truly see not only the people that she was putting in my life, but just how important it was for someone else to to guide you, right? To point you in the right direction when you're staring off, right? Um, so it just made me think of that. But with the Showtime film, Shawn, right, and all the accolades that you got, right? 52 different film festivals. You got 5 of them that you actually won, right? And that opened the doors for so many other things. Did you see the success coming?
Uh, with Showtime, honestly, I did. It was one of those things where I prayed a lot on it. I
Mm,
prepared just so diligently, and my community really supported that film. I believe we had over 130 people from my neighborhood, Rhode Island, LA, all over, really like, hey, I'm gonna put forth some type of money to make sure that this film gets made because we
wow.
believe in you as a filmmaker and even more so as a leader. And I mean, just those 3 days where we were filming, and then even in post production and editing, like there was a special type of energy, and just I felt like there was a divine presence there. Like so
Mm,
many times, things
divine presence. Wow. Talk about that. What do you mean by that?
just like a lot of moments, it just felt like it was gonna be the end while we were filming, whether it was the police coming involved or just actor stuff. But
Yeah.
it was one of those things where it was like, wow, this is special. And
Mm,
everybody involved really wanted to be there. There wasn't a lot of money. Darn near for some people, they volunteered in the blistering cold. Um, but it was just a special moment between people. And more importantly, it was something that needed to be done for the community. That story is one that so many people can relate to.
mm,
And yeah, man, whether it was, well, I'll say whether it was God and even the ancestors playing a role in that, I really did
wow.
feel like I was being guided and more so like everybody in my crew was being protected throughout it all. So when I speak of like a divine presence, it just felt like, there was something bigger than us happening.
Wow. Wow. So when you think about, and I know you said you could see the success coming, right?
Yeah.
And then when it comes, right, and you got opportunities to work on, big name Netflix projects, right? And, you're only the age of 24, 23 at the time, right? Now, how did that viewpoint on success change, if at all, right? What was that? What does success look like for you now, being
Yeah.
that you kind of got introduced to, hey, I'm next to so and so, in Hollywood. I'm next to this person in Hollywood. Like, how do you see success shaking out for Shawn Antoine now?
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to work on some pretty big shows and films. Um, and just, the way I feel when I'm around these people or just, in that environment, one, I feel like, all right, I'm here because I put in the work and I'm supposed to be here. That's first and foremost. But more importantly, when I speak to so many people in the industry, it allows me to realize that I have time. There's no rush.
Mm,
Immediate success does not. mean a lifetime of success. And there's people that, have had success at an early age that I've seen, and there's people that have had later success. At the end of the day, it's just, more importantly, where you're gonna finish at the end of it all. But when I'm around these people, I definitely feel motivated. I feel like, one, I'm supposed to be here, like I said before, but more importantly, like I can do what they do at some point. Not ready yet, but just the fact that I see and I'm learning and all those type of things, that's just bettering me in my development. Um, but it's always an amazing opportunity to meet and work with people that are so much further along in their career than you. And yeah, I'm just constantly in a state of learning, but it feels good.
Mm. What have you seen from some of those guys that you met, right? I don't know. I know you met like, Robert De Niro, Chadwick Boseman. From those guys, have you had an insight into their work ethic at all? Or was there any moment where you saw something that was like, okay, that's why he's there.
Yeah.
That's why he's made it.
Um, I would say there was one person in particular. I remember I was working on the Blacklist. I
Mm,
was there for season 7, and I got a chance to just be around and see James Spader. And one thing I've always noticed about some of these professionals, especially in like the film industry, but even like I've met business owners, I've met billionaires, there's an immense discipline about them, which, if that makes sense, I'm more so referring to how they carry themselves, how they speak, just their aura. You can tell that they're very composed,
mm,
disciplined, and there's a very there's an immense kind of focus to them.
yeah, yeah.
And I think when we're talking about people that have been able to attain so much success, uh, you got to be focused, you got to be disciplined, and more importantly, you got to be persistent. Every
Mm,
one of these people that I've met, they've had so many different types of obstacles, but they've always found a way to break through. But more importantly, they just stuck with it,
mm.
and that's something that I try to, like, at least from everybody I meet, I try to pick up one thing, and I'm always trying to nitpick, like, man, I love the way they handled that. I love the way they spoke this way. I love the way they even sometimes dressed. Like, so all of these things, like, add to my repertoire. But yeah, those are some of the things that, like, I just pick up on, is like, wow, that discipline that they had there, that sense of focus, that's something that I'm trying to work towards, and it just definitely inspires me.
Yeah, no, I feel like some of the most successful people that I've seen is it's that discipline point that you spoke on, and it's doing things that you necessarily don't want to do all the time, right?
Yeah.
It's going home and it's opening up your laptop and working on that piece of content, right? It's going through that scene again.
Yep.
And it's crazy when you look at just, the difference between winning and losing is so slim, right? It literally could be that extra 30 minutes that you just put, right? Literally could be us, when you said, hey, can we do the podcast at 10:15? It's me saying no, right? And then this being the best podcast ever, but since I said no, I missed out on the opportunity, right? And I think that goes to your point about being disciplined. Um, Going on your website, ShawnAntoine2nd.com, right? I saw one of your mantras is to inform and to inspire, right? And that kind of speaks for itself, right? But can you kind of dive deeper into that? And what I would say is that kind of like when you think about your overarching purpose, would
Yeah.
that be it, to inform and to inspire?
Yeah, I actually heard this years ago. I was on YouTube. There's a show that I like that was in the 90s called The Phil Donahue Show. And there was this guest, Khalid Muhammad, and he was just speaking about, the fight that Black people have went through throughout years, and why he's so standoffish. And he said he does that because Black people are one of information and inspiration.
Hmm.
And that was one of the most powerful things that, I think about, like church, politics, food, the way we consume media. And, it wasn't just for him saying that. I was directly thinking of, like, Black people, of course, but that's for everyone. And information and inspiration is something that, at least through my works, I'm trying to at least kind of trying to have in it. And that was one of the things that I just picked up on early in my film career. And I just try to continue that throughout every project. All right, how did I inform? How did I inspire? How did I inform? How did I inspire? And sometimes the inspire comes before the inform, but nonetheless, if I get those things done in a project, I just feel like, or even through my photography, if I get that
Yeah.
done in anything that I do,
Hmm.
I feel like it was a success.
Got you. Okay. Inform and to inspire. Okay. I like that.
Inspiration and information. It's a powerful thing, man.
Where do you get your information from, Shawn? Right? You're pouring out, you're pouring out, you're pouring out. What are you pouring inside? And where do you get that from?
Uh like many people, I get a lot of information from the internet. Um,
What's your favorite social media platform? So I know you're active on Twitter a little bit. I think you were kind of active on Twitter before Elon Musk was on there. You were
yeah.
still tweeting every once in a while.
No, I like Twitter. Twitter is cool because it's just such a diverse range of people.
Yeah.
So I would say probably Twitter is my favorite social media. Um, they got so many different type of clubs in Twitter, and really you don't have to say
Do you ever
anything.
go on to them?
No, I don't say much. I just read.
Yeah.
I just read to see what people say. Someone
Gotcha.
in the comments might say something I agree with, but
Hmm.
that's about it. But as far as my where I get my information from, uh, a lot of times from people, and then I'll fact check it. I'll be like, all right, that was great, but let me fact check it. But I'm very informed and even inspired by the stories people tell. I
Hmm.
think that's a powerful thing. How we consume information is something that I'm very infatuated with.
Me too.
Way stories are passed around. We're in such a unique time right now where
Yeah.
you can construct the truth and facts with whatever information you have,
Yeah.
whether you have all of the information or you have some of it. You can kind of put together what you want. But I read as well. But really, it's like everything, man. We get it from social media platforms. I have a New York Times membership, so I read there as well. I watch the news every night.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm
You listen
informed.
to Shawn, you listen to Gary Vee at all?
I don't listen to Gary Vee.
Man,
For me, Gary Vee, Gary Vee was one of the pioneers of the social media thing
before
early
you
on.
say what you're about to say, I feel like everybody has either a really positive thing to say about Gary Vee and they're on the train or they're completely off the train. So I might know where you're going with
But
this
but
by the way you're
I'll say
talking.
this though, Gary Vee. I don't watch Gary Vee, but I
Hmm.
do understand how he inspired so many other people on the social medias that do similar stuff as him.
Yeah.
Whether teaching people how to do certain things, inspiring people. He kind of like set the tone and the trends for all of that to follow him. But yeah, I think Gary Vee is cool. It just, I think like all social media people or just influencers, depends who you want to follow. They
Yeah.
all do some stuff.
He said something that really stuck out to me when I was listening to a podcast of him on the way home from work the other day. And he said, we're in a very unique time, right? If we look 200 years from now, we are going to be the starting point of our generations, right? Because of social media. And he was like, if you look at your parents' lives, their lives aren't documented on social media the way your life will be, right? But Shawn, your great, great, great grandchildren are going to be able to pull up Instagram and see everything that you've done.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I can't do that to my grandpa. I can't do that to my grandma. I don't know what she was doing in her 20s. But I just thought about that. And with that being said, it's kind of scary, but it's like, it makes social media cooler, right? If you think about it like that, right?
I'll tell you this, that sounds great, but see, you probably were too young. You didn't have a MySpace. Everybody thought that MySpace would be there forever until it got
True.
all completely wiped out. So we don't know.
True. No, very true. That's a
But
good point.
I will say though, that's why I make films.
Mm,
So my great great grandkids could be like, oh yeah, look what my grandfather did, my great grandfather did back in the days. But
mm,
social media, man, I mean, the whole tech wave and social media, especially documenting our photos and stuff, it scares me sometimes
yeah,
because at any moment you could be hacked, your stuff could be wiped out, and tons of memories are gone. So many
very
people,
true.
like I was in high school, none of us really have high school photos no more unless they was on Facebook. And even then, there's not even all of them. A lot of our
Mm.
phones and all that stuff. We went through tons of iPhones before it was iCloud, and all that stuff is gone. So I would tell anybody, man, please try to like have physical photos, have it on a hard drive, but do not rely on social media for your memories. At any moment, it could go. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know, but this generation we're in, I feel like it's almost here forever. I don't know. I don't see Instagram being the same as MySpace because what it's owned by Facebook now and it's all
so
being
meta.
monopolized. Yeah.
It's
It's
so
I don't know
meta.
what's going on,
I,
man.
I just say, man, do not rely on the social medias for all your memories. It can be dangerous, man. What if you
Yeah,
get hacked?
yeah. Just true.
What if
People
you
are
get
getting
hacked?
hacked left and right.
It's scary, man.
Left
So,
and right.
but
Um,
I do agree with Gary Vee, though, man. We're in a very interesting time. Um, technology is only we're only at the beginning of it,
hmm,
and we'll constantly want to adapt and hopefully the world will continue to transform so that we're able to adapt to it.
hmm,
Uh, because at some point, let's hope that we're still in control of all the technology and stuff, and it's not the other way around.
hmm. Last point, right? I want to ask you this. So, because I think it's an interesting time that we live in because of also from a business standpoint, this is kind of like an opportunity to give out game for free, right? These businesses are coming to social media platforms and they're using it to create bigger market share, right? And I always say from what Think Gold is trying to do is like we're trying to take advantage of this time period, right? Because who knows, Instagram can start charging you to create business content, right? So I think for anybody listening to this who has a craft or a passion, right, or is making film, and that's why I like Gary Vee so much, is now is the opportunity to get that out there because you don't know how long you'll be able to do it. Thoughts on that?
I think it's early to say, man. I think
Yeah,
like everything is being monetized now because it was free for so long, and like these companies have to actually make money now, especially tech companies. But it's early. I don't really
mm,
have any thoughts on it. I think, like I said before, we're gonna have to constantly adapt.
mm,
If you're on Instagram so bad, then you're gonna have to pay for
mm,
it. I mean, but yeah, I don't really have too many thoughts on that,
yeah.
honestly.
If you couldn't tell, I'm a tech guy, Shawn.
No, I love tech too. I'm trying to hopefully in my future I could retire from all the social media, man.
Okay.
That's the goal. I don't Social media is cool, but I want to live comfortably, relax.
Yeah,
I don't have to, I can be away from all the quote unquote competitive nature on social media. It's crazy,
yeah.
man.
So with film, Shawn, do you feel like you're at the stage where you're kind of seen?
Seen?
Seen. Yep.
Uh, I'm seeing
Because
my,
so the reason I ask this, right, is because there's a lot of I'm sure there's a lot of creators, filmmakers, right, who are still working to get their content seen by people, right? And they're not at the level that you're at, right?
yeah.
And so segueing into my next question is what advice do you have for people in the film space that are looking to get seen, that are looking for to get to that next jump, to maybe working on a blacklist, to working on some Netflix shows? Like, what advice do you have for those people, if any?
I think you have to be very clear in your intentions.
Mm,
Um, if you want to be a filmmaker, you have to make films. If you want to be in the business of film, then you got to kind of find ways to navigate and see where you fit in. This film is, I mean, there's hundreds of different jobs you can have within the film industry.
mm,
You have to be intentional with the way in your course. And my advice would really to be, if you want to make movies, you got to just start by making something. It doesn't matter what equipment you're using, just go out there and shoot something. My path was different, I would say, but everybody's is in the industry. I went by just started making films. I got into a couple festivals. I kept going to festivals. I kept creating. Then I was able to, fortunate enough to be an assistant to people. which is very difficult. But I was able to assist some people in the industry. But my advice is, back to just my advice, you got to find a way to kind of just be around it. The
Mm.
more you're around film and production, what do they say? It's the law of attraction. So if you're on
Amen.
sets, you're gonna be attracted to sets. You're
Amen.
around directors, you're probably gonna be the next director. Like, so those is kind of the things I would say. But more so, you got to know what you want to do, and it's
Amen.
hard. But the best way you can find out what you want to do, you just got to be around it. You got to just start doing stuff. And if you're not doing anything, you can't really expect anything to happen.
Amen. Awesome, Sean. That was good advice. I feel like law of attraction is real. Law of attraction is true. Obviously, you just can't sit on your ass and start thinking about stuff, and it's gonna come to you. But speaking of attraction, right? What are you attracting in your life right now, right? So Sean, you're 25, correct?
26, 26. I'm
20,
getting old.
26. Yeah, we got the same birthday in August. So thinking about your life and kind of what the next step is for you, what are you manifesting? What are you attracting? What are you trying to bring into your life in this season that we're in right now?
I'm really trying to attract better leadership skills.
Hmm.
Want to really become, when I speak on leadership skills, I think there's so many things that go under being a leader, right? I
Okay.
want to be better in my communication. I want to be a better friend. Uh, I want to be, obviously a better filmmaker. I want to be a harder worker. So just some of those are some of the things I'm really trying to attract upon myself through my daily actions. And hopefully I'll be missing out if I, slip missing this if I didn't say I'm really trying to attract more projects that really speak to who I am,
Hmm.
right? How are these projects reflective upon my values and what I stand for, and just really trying to stick with that. That's really big for me, is just trying to make sure that every project I put out is something I'm proud of. So I'm really trying to attract just more stories that need to be told and that I can align with.
Got you. So really last question here. On your way to doing that, right? On your way to attracting all those things, becoming a better leader, getting some projects that actually mean something to you. How do you deal with the pressure to get there? Right? If at all. I don't want to
Yeah,
put that on.
one of the biggest things that I've been doing for myself lately has just really been like being patient. Um, I can make, if I wanted to, I can make 10 films a year, but that doesn't mean it's 10 films that I'm proud of and that I feel are like equally as good as other work that I've put out. I'm really trying to make sure that I'm patient with my work. I'm refining my craft. I'm just trying to be a lot sharper. And yeah, that's really where I'm at with it, is just trying to really make sure that like I'm putting forth just the best work that I really can, and that I'm really just taking my time, man.
Mm,
There's no rush. Like, I hope to live a very long life, but more so I hope to live a very like successful in my own sense.
mm,
Also, just like everything that I do, I'm proud of. And that's really what I'm striving towards. Is just, be patient, man. You got time.
amen.
Got time to
Amen.
do it right. You know what I
That's
mean?
a word right there.
Yeah, I want to do it right and exact. So,
Gotcha.
that's what comes with patience, I feel. So, and it's not patience without action. This is patience with a lot of work. So,
Mm, amen. Amen. Well said. All right. So last questions that I always ask on the Think Gold podcast. You may remember this from before, but fill in the blanks here, okay?
yep.
I am nothing without.
God and my ancestors, for real.
Hmm. The world needs.
More unapologetic Black storytellers.
Hmm. On that same token, give us one that we should tune into.
Ooh. I'm gonna throw an up and coming one out. There's a couple, man. That's tough to say.
Give us
But
one that we can search on the Instagram, on the YouTube, and find.
hmm, you got one documentary filmmaker that I think people should really be watching. Her name's Garrett Bradley.
Okay.
Very impressive work. She has a documentary on Amazon Prime called Time. Uh,
Time.
very beautiful project. Uh, and if I'm speaking on storytellers, I mean, you can talk about musicians. But that's I would say Garrett Bradley. But on a unfortunately, I can't say more because there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Hmm.
So when I talk about like these unapologetic Black storytellers, man, like these are people that are not afraid to tell their stories. Um, so that's I guess Garrett Bradley is the person I can name now, but
Okay.
I'll come back with more names. There's a
Okay.
ton that I'm missing. You put me on the spot with that one, but there are a bunch. There are a bunch.
Okay. If you send me some, I'll put some in the caption when I post this on a gram next week. I'll post some artists. Maybe we can come together and think of some more names. Okay,
Absolutely.
next question. My biggest joy is.
My biggest joy is taking photos now. Like I really have fallen in love with grabbing my 35 millimeter film cameras and just walking through my neighborhood and traveling with it and just capturing the moment. Like
Yo,
I've been shooting on film for like the last 2 to 3 years, and I just love just freezing people in time, freezing that moment. So I think that's my greatest joy right now. I really enjoy capturing people, and obviously that's reflective also with film, but just capturing people and capturing them in that moment is probably my greatest joy right now.
bro, I will tell you, your photos are phenomenal.
Thank you, bro.
They are really, really, really good. And I'm not gonna lie, I show Amanda all the time whenever you post those what do you call it, those snapshots, right? I
Yeah,
think that's something that you should do more of, honestly. Sean, when
yeah,
you post those pictures and then you have like one, right? And what that picture means. And then you have them, you have 10 different pictures and you have the number of what the title of it is, right? Is that what you did?
yeah.
That I think is genius, and I would love to see more of that. So that's
Got you.
awesome.
I'm gonna drop some. I'm gonna drop some probably in the next month. I got you.
Okay.
I got a lot of work that I've been working on. I'm hopefully trying to put together my own gallery show and release a book this year. So that's why
Wow.
I'm holding back a little bit. But I have a lot of photos, man, that I'm very excited to hopefully release my first book this year. And just have it in people's homes, man. These
Mm.
photos really tell a story. And yeah, man, I'm glad you really enjoyed them, man. That means a lot.
I want to send you something too, because I was working in Ward 7 and Ward 8 here in Washington, DC. And that's kind of, that's your inner city of DC. It's poverty stricken, low economic standards of living. It's the contrast is stark, right? And I forgot what the artist is. I gotta connect you with him, but he has this whole website. And um what did they used to call DC? They used to have a word for what they call DC. Chocolate City, I believe is what it was called. So his website is something something Chocolate City, and it's all black and white photos of him taking pictures in Ward 7 and Ward 8. And it
Mm.
gave me the very similar vibe to the photos that you had of, homeless people in Harlem, right? In black and white. And, just people walking down the streets in Harlem. And you just see something within these people. It's like they're not just homeless people. They're not just, how the rest of society perceives them, but they have a story to tell. And I think that's why the pictures are so dope. Okay, next question. Our greatest battle is.
Our greatest battle is consistency.
Hmm,
Consistency is tough, man.
it is very tough. It was very tough. I am someone that thinks gold because.
I am someone that thinks gold because I have accepted my failures and I am working towards my success.
Hmm, well said, man. That is the podcast today. That was
Thank
great. That was great, Sean. That was great. I appreciate you taking the time, man. If you just want to say where
uh,
people can find you, where's the best place to reach you? Let's start off with the Instagram handle.
yeah, I'm on all social media platforms at Shawn Antoine II. So yeah, if you just search that up. If you just Google my name, my social media platform should pop up. But I'm just glad. I just want to say, I'm very, very proud of you. Even post your football career and everything, you've decided to dive back into, having your platform, given a platform for storytellers, people that are influential, people that more importantly you believe are influential. And that's important, man. You're giving all of us a platform, and hopefully I can speak on behalf of everyone. I'm proud of you, and I'm looking forward to the constant growth. And just keep making sure that you're developing your brand, and you're making sure that it's standing for everything that you want Think Gold to be.
Hey, man, I appreciate that, Shawn. I appreciate that, brother. You have a good night. Thanks for coming on again, and look forward to releasing this one. Love you, brother. Take care.
Appreciate you, bro.